Hey G fans, today I want to do a special video that I want to do for a very long time, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to rate the Godzilla saga, all 30 films as a whole. I'm going to start at the worst and end with the best. Now, I've already done a top 10 video, my top 10 favorite films, but of course, since that was a very old video, and since then I've seen Godzilla 2014, and of course my views have matured and changed. So this will basically be basically a comprehensive list of all of them, which I guess I already went over. But basically, the point of this one is, and keep in mind, it's not a spectrum of which one is the best, like overall, for all the fandom to know and praise. Because first off, this is my personal opinion of how I would arrange them, as far as worst to best. I'll begin with the worst and end with the best, in my opinion. But also, keep in mind, this is also not in terms of let's just say, well, because we all know that if I do this based on artistic merit and fleshed out characters, and which one has the most strongest moral messages in it, the obvious one will be Gojira. And we all know that the original Gojira, Shira Honda, 1954, will probably be the best Godzilla film for a very long time, and it always will be the best, because no Godzilla film has been made since that has even stood up even close to it. Although some have tried, and those have been very good films, but none can really match what the 1954 film was. And that's because the era it was born, it was just a different time. So trying to replicate that is just idiotic. So that said, I'm not doing this based on just that, because we all know that's going to be the best Godzilla movie of all time. What I'm doing this on is rewatchability, I should say. Like, for example, I can watch certain Godzilla more than I can watch another one, because I'll enjoy that one a lot more. So that's how I'm going to be rating these movies right now. I'm still going to talk about the artistic merits of them, the qualities of them, and the faults and the praise I should be giving them. But that's what I'm judging this on. Like, which Godzilla movie do I really enjoy watching the most all the time? And that's how we're going to go about this. So let us begin. Remember, 30 films, starting at number 30, ending with number 1. Here we go. I guess where else will we start but with the very first American attempt at a Godzilla movie, headed by Sony TriStar, the Roland Emmerich and Dean Delvin film. And yes, I know there's been a lot of people who have actually been saying give this movie a chance for a while now. You know, say let the wounds heal already, blah 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 blah. It's been several, I don't know how many years it's been since then. Has it been like, what's it been, 18 years since that movie? Something like that. I don't know. I know that's probably wrong, so don't get me on that one. But the point of the matter is that this movie to me still hits really hard. And when I say hit hard, I mean hit you hard in the balls. I mean, there's just so much wrong with it. And not even just as a Godzilla movie wannabe. Now, I just rewatched it today, as a matter of fact, just to remind myself, because I haven't watched it in many years. Even though I do own it, because, you know, I'm not one of those completist guys for movies. For the Godzilla franchise, and that's just the only one, I thought I might as well just own them all. So like, no one can ever say I don't own them all. I do. In any case, though, this one, it has a few merits. The effects are mostly good for the time period, obviously. Although I can also say a few of the baby Zillas or whatever, sometimes the impact of their feet hitting the ground looks a little off. But I'm not going to nitpick bullshit like that. For the most part, the effects are good. Now, the characters are really, really annoying. We have the stuttering military guy. Attack, attack, combat, combat. Like, okay, I don't know what his problem is. Okay, we have Dr. Totopoulos. I'm not even gonna go into that. It was just nothing but this lame acting that he's pretty much known for. Unfortunately, Matthew Broderick, I'm very sorry, but that's just what you're known for at this rate. And the rest of the actors, by God, I don't even remember their names, but they were really lame characters, and the majority of the dialogue that was there was just lame ass jokes. I watched it, when I was watching, I noticed it's mainly just a lot of lame ass jokes. I'm like, wow, it's That's just bad as I remember. The action scenes are, for the most part, good. Nothing really worth praising, though. That's the thing. I mean, it had two good action scenes. Basically, when Godzilla, quote unquote, first arrived, that was kind of neat. First action scene with the military was kind of neat, and from there, it's just kind of meh. I really despise the whole ending car chase scene because it just made no goddamn sense. So that giant monster could not catch a taxi, yet same time constantly be right behind it. It just reeked a Jurassic Park ripoff, except it was just so badly done. I mean, as a whole, it's not the worst movie out there, but it just isn't that great. And then, top all that off, you slap the name Godzilla on there, and it's just. No. I mean, the only Godzilla like thing about him is the roar, and even that's distorted. I mean, the roar isn't really bad, but that's the only thing that even closely resembles Godzilla in this movie. Every time a character says the name Godzilla or Gojira, I cringe. That's how bad it is. So yeah, not the worst movie out there, but as far as Godzilla movies go, it's definitely the bottom of the bunch. Moving on. To really get this, the few shit kickers out of the way. Number 29, All Monsters Attack, but don't let that title distract you. No, we're talking about the infamous, the hated Godzilla's Revenge. And I think it shouldn't be any surprise to just about any person with common sense in the world. This is on the very lower end of the spectrum of a good Godzilla movie. Even as a kid, I remember I was a kid when I first saw this. Probably like in elementary school. I don't know, probably like maybe 10 at the oldest. And my aunt loved, treating me to movies, and she knew I loved Godzilla. So one day she brought a bunch of VHS tapes, and I was watching them. They're all show films, but they were so good because it was good and bounds in there. But at the time I was a kid, I was like, oh well, it's Godzilla. It's awesome. Godzilla's Gigan, yeah. Godzilla's Megalon 1974. Yeah, this is great. And then I saw Godzilla's Revenge. It had this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it. I think it was. I don't know what distributor company. I think it was Scimitar. Or I don't know. You pop it in because the VHS has Godzilla on it and weird looking minion, and you look at the case and it's Kumanga and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be fucking great. Godzilla's Revenge, oh, revenge for what? And you pop it in, I was like, oh, what the, what? What happened? What? What? I just sat there and rubbed my eyes. I just sat there like, I think there's only about two scenes I liked in the whole movie. That being the opening track and the American version is pretty snazzy. I actually like it. What can I say? I'm weird. And I liked the Godzilla beating the shit out of Gabra scene. That's about it. Everything else was just awful. And the problems of the movie are pretty obvious. Horrendous amounts of stock footage. Horrendous. I think it does hold the place of Godzilla films as one of the worst as far as that in that category. Only a few new action scenes, and the ones that are there aren't that great. I mean, a lot of it's Manila slash Minya. I don't know, horsing around with that kid Ichiro on little bullshit adventures about standing up to bullies. I mean, at the heart, I guess it's a good message. I mean, if I know people watch it and there's a lot of subtle themes like I don't know, industrialization. It opens with a very polluted, nasty looking Tokyo, and then you meet the kid who's a part of the modern age. His parents are always gone. He's always on his own. He has to raise himself. Those themes are there, and for its worth, intellectually, it's an alright movie when you think about it in that aspect. And maybe Honda wanted more out of it, since it is, I remind you, directed by Yoshiro Honda the Legend himself. However, that message is lost in just a lot of the garbage you have to sit through in the meantime. I mean, you can't be aiming to be a very intellectual movie at the same time have goddamn mania with that dopey voice. Hey kids, want to learn how to defend yourself? Type of stuff going on. It just really throws people off, and you lose interest. And it's just like, oh wait, there's bank robbers, but there's no tension in the human world because there's never any music. And it's just, oh man. Yeah, this was an obvious one though. You guys knew this was coming. Godzilla Revenge is definitely one of the least watched films as far as Godzilla, at least in my book. I rarely pop it in. I did enjoy the audio and commentary though on DVD. It was very interesting, taught me a lot. Moving on. Number 28, Godzilla Raids Again, also known as, I think, the Counterattack of Godzilla. Which you look in Japan, a lot of them have the word counterattack thrown in the title. I think they just love the sound of that word, counterattack. In any case, Godzilla Raids Again, the only other black and white Godzilla movie, the sequel to the original 1954 film, not directed by Honda, directed by Matoshi Oda, I believe, if I recall, with only one of the characters from the first one making a very brief cameo, Dr. Yamane. And, yeah, that pretty much sums up the film for you. Nothing like the first one, except for its dark look, but, that's pretty much in name only, considering a lot of the footage of the monsters is sped up, which I guess they thought would be an interesting experiment, but it just makes the battles impossible to get into, honestly. I mean, the only fight move I liked in the whole movie was basically Godzilla biting into Anguirus' neck and killing him. That was pretty awesome. Godzilla looks okay, just a slimmed down version of the 1954 suit, but it just looks okay, nothing more. Anguirus looks alright for his first appearance, but he will actually look a whole lot better later on in the series. Music was okay. I liked some of the dark music that they had going on. Believe it or not, it was Masaru Satao, who later on do the music for things like Godzilla vs. Megagodzilla and Son of Godzilla, and Godzilla vs. Sea Monster. But surprisingly, the music here is actually like dark and brooding. Only problem is that when it's not being dark and brooding, it's just non-existent or boring. And it also describes the plot. The plot really has no real direction. That's the thing. That's the worst thing about this movie. The plot feels like it's going nowhere. It's just characters die, no one bats an eyelash, random prison breaks happen. It just, like, the story has nothing. It's hard to describe the way the story is. It's just dry and drab. And the characters don't really do much in the story at all when you think about it. I can't think the characters doing much of shit. And yeah, that sums up a rather banal entrance into the series. It doesn't even have a catchy opening tune like Godzilla's Revenge. But at least it's all original footage. Oh yeah, American version doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. It's really crappy, incredibly shitty, utterly trash. Yeah, it sums up this movie as far as, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just really drab, I guess. Best way to sum it up. Definitely on the lower tier of Godzilla movies for me. Number 27, my dear old Godzilla vs. Megalon. Admittedly, one of the first Godzilla movies I've ever seen, although not the first. The first one I ever saw was Ghidorah the Headed Monster. But yes, I used to have this on VHS, and I used to watch it endlessly. Now, this holds a place in a lot of people's hearts because it was, like I said, one of the most popular ones, I guess, on VHS back in its day. Now, the problem is, when I revisit it, though, it's just, it's a really, really fun movie as far as the monster fights go, sure, but, the human scenes don't interest me in the slightest, and that's a problem. I mean, a lot of people, You think Godzilla movies, you don't really think human characters, but actually human characters are an important part because they're supposed to keep invested when the monsters are not on screen. Something has to be going on to interest you, and I can't think of a damn thing that goes on besides a car chase or two and some poorly done fight scenes. Dialogue was, eh. Dialogue just fits the situation pretty much. You know what's going on, who's that, blah blah blah. Go get Godzilla. Eh. I love that Gigan was in it. Gigan was awesome for the little he did. I don't think he did anything new. I think anything he did that was cool was probably stock footage. I was gonna say CGI. Probably stock footage. And anything that wasn't stock footage was him getting his ass kicked. So, but I do like Gigan though. He's one of my top favorite monsters. Megalon, can't say that I'm a fan. Can't. He's just a beetle with drill arms. I don't know how the hell that's possible. And I hate his roar. I mean, yeah, it's Megalon. Fuck him. And the score is probably the best part of the movie. Pretty catchy. Very memorable score. I'll give it that. Very memorable score. And as for Godzilla movie, he's straight up hero. Nothing new as far as that was at that point in the series. And of course, the stock footage. Damn, 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 damn. Dam scene looked good though. Megalon going to the dam. I'll admit that looked really good. But one good scene a month, just piles of crap. Can't save him, I'm afraid to say. So yeah, this is definitely the lower tier of Godzilla movies for me. Moving on to its brother, clocking in at right above that little crap fest, Godzilla versus Gigan. This one was actually hard for me to find a VHS when I was a kid, but I did see it later on in life on DVD thanks to Sony TriStar. Good old Sony TriStar. And to me, it's one of those movies that had a lot of potential. It's just they shitted on what they did have, sadly. I like the story of the aliens needing resources, although it was kind of reused. I at least like the fact that it was actually a little better pulled off than it was in Invasion of Astro Monsters, that they were a little more sinister. You know, they killed some humans, they took their skin, and then that kind of got squandered. In fact, they were cockroaches. Like, damn it. Okay, well, that was kind of silly. Like, protagonist and their little escapades, little alien base was laughable. I didn't care for any of the human characters. They were just random hippie artist, karate chick, other people, lame. And then the aliens fall for a drawing of the characters. And then their base blows up. Whew. Godzilla looks like crap. The suit is falling apart in this one. Yeah, Jesus. Anguirus looks good. Gets his ass kicked for the whole movie, though. It's the only point of him being here. Good God. They raped King Ghidorah in this one, but King Ghidorah looked awful in most of the scenes. And most people say the suit didn't change. Yes, the hell it did. Not only is the suit stiff as... It's not even... Why am I saying a suit? It's more like a model. The model they use when it's flying scenes is stiff as a statue. And for Ghidorah, that just doesn't look right. The necks are not flailing. The wings are not flapping. It's just awful. They literally got a toy and just put it on a string, I guess. It just looks awful. And then even when he's not flying around in the new suit, it's like this pale, ugly, like I would even call it gold. I don't know if I should even call it yellow. It's like an ugly beige. King Ghidorah just looked like crap in this movie. I was really disappointed with that. The only redeeming monster in the movie is Gigan. Gigan was awesome. I loved all of his scenes because that was his first appearance. You know, every time you saw him, you knew it wasn't going to be stock footage. So he looked really impressive. I like his roar. I like his personality. You know, coward, but he's a brutal fighter. I love all of Gigan's scenes. I just only wish he could have been in a better movie. That is the tragedy of Gigan, I'm afraid. Please, someday, some director, some screenwriter, put Gigan in a really good Godzilla movie. Please. I beg of you. But with that said, yeah, this is definitely a lower tier Godzilla movies. I've been saying that. We're just really getting the crappers out of the way first. But this movie's fight scenes are kind of fun, even though, once again, stock footage reigns rampant. Anything with Ghidorah, it's gonna be stock footage, buddy. But, for what it's worth, every scene with Gigan fighting is awesome. And the bloodshed is pretty entertaining. And, oh yeah, the music. It's all stock scores. Ifukube. Ridiculous, but entertaining, because I like Ifukube. So, some scenes really got highlighted because of that music. But with that said, let's just wrap this one up and say dud. But Gigan's awesome. Number 25. Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. Once again, one of my childhood favorites. Those things I had on VHS. I used to watch it endlessly. Endlessly. Now, this was movies that I actually like Godzilla vs. Gigan more than this one. To be honest, the reason I put this one higher than Godzilla vs. Gigan is because this one doesn't have any stock footage. So for that alone, I had to kind of respect it for that. But at the same time, though, it has its own share of problems. And the sad thing is, this is, well, I won't say it's the golden age. Excuse me. It comes right after the golden age of Godzilla. Following a line of really good ones. This one comes out. Number one problem, the music really did not fit a Godzilla movie. The Hawaiian Islander type, I don't know how to describe the music. You hear the music and you think you got a luau. That's all I can say. Or no. Like a bad James Bond movie. That's how to describe the music. If that makes sense. It just was not fitting for a Godzilla movie at all. Godzilla himself looked okay in some scenes, looked atrocious in others. I think one of the worst suits I've ever seen is that scene where he's stomping on the base of the red bamboo terrorist. He looked shit-tastic. It was scary how bad it looked. Moving on, Ebra never gave a rat's ass about him. Yet another reason why I would love to put Gigan above this one, but for some reason I decided not to. They regret that. But in any case, Ebra, he sucks. He's a lobster, shrimp, wherever the hell he is. He sucks. He's one of the most least creative things I've ever seen in one of these movies. And usually I don't complain about monster design, but him along with Gabra and Megalon are some of those I just do not give a rat's ass about. I can't say I give a shit about him. And of course, the giant condor. It's a bird. Gets killed by Godzilla. I like the scene because how fast paced it is. All the quick cuts. Godzilla, chaos. Can't get this damn bird out of his face. And they use that heat ray of his, and boom, it's over. I like how it killed him. That was entertaining. But otherwise, Godzilla has some odd fight scenes with Ebra, but they are entertaining, even though he's a crappy monster. Let alone the fact that I keep thinking about this nowadays, I can't help but think about it. Why the hell is he red? Aren't most crabs not red until they get cooked? I don't even, why am I thinking about this? The point is, on the monster spectrum, it wasn't that great. The human side actually had a decent story. It was actually kind of interesting. These random terrorists. I don't know what the chemicals were to keep Ebra away, but yeah, a random terrorist group is on an island where Godzilla happens to be. And yeah, chaos ensues. Oh yeah, Mothra's in it for like the last 5 minutes. And that was an interesting but quick fight. But you watch the trailer, Mothra's definitely in it, which was interesting. But yeah, definitely one of the ones I watch it nowadays and it's like, I like when Godzilla first wakes up. It looks pretty awesome. He looks awesome there, but it just does not hold up. But I do like the colors in this one. Cinematography was great for the most part. The colors were really awesome. I love the jet scene where Godzilla's fighting the jets. Even though he starts goddamn dancing in the middle of the fight, I did like the color scheme with the bright red missiles and explosions. It looked really good. But yeah, definitely not what I would consider one of the best Godzilla movies out there. No. And I know some fans are going to hate me for this, but yes, I'm putting this movie on one of the lower tiers. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. That's right. I put it at number 24. It's the one Heisei movie I can't get into, and for a number of reasons. Well, first of all, the praise. The praise, uh, I like Space Godzilla. His roar, even though it's not original, it's just, Gigan's roar. I like it. I like Space Godzilla as a character. He's neat. He looks great. Although the shoulder spikes, of course, could have been a little more detailed to avoid looking so pathetic. But overall, his personality, the way he looks, the way he moves, the way he acts, I love Space Godzilla. Even though I don't like the name. I especially like his color scheme. It's very different for one of these characters in Godzilla movie, for a reptilian creature, I guess, that he is. I guess we would call him that. Clone, hybrid, I don't know what he is. The point is, I like Space Godzilla, and that's about it. Well, no, I like his theme. His theme specifically, I like, but the music does not really carry through the whole movie as something I would like really enjoy. Taiyuki Hattori, I believe, was the composer. He also composed Godzilla 2000. Another movie where the score just didn't really do it for me. It held its own. It just wasn't that memorable. In other news, I hated Mogira. I know it's a classic monster, well, robotic kaiju, I guess I would call it, from what the Mysterians. But Toho should have just brought back Mechagodzilla. I really hated Mogira. It looks so stupid. It looks so dumb. I just imagine that thing walking with those damn legs. You can't. And Godzilla looked great. Motivation was simple, though. Of course, get his son out of jail. Huh. But Godzilla was great in it, of course. And the human characters, that's where I started losing interest. Story was all over the place between this whole bullcrap mind controlling Godzilla, which was to me was a lame idea. Controlling Godzilla, really? Mind controlling Godzilla. No, then Japanese mafia gets involved. What? Okay, okay. This is going places. I mean, I feel we should have just done a whole lot more with the Miki Sagusa and I believe the character Gondo. Those two had interesting stories. Miki Sagusa is starting to really like Godzilla, building on what was set up in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. I'm just going with the American title, so people are going confused. And Gondo's character has a relationship, who had a friendship with the character from Godzilla vs. Beyonce. That's interesting. Those are interesting storylines. But once all that mafia crap and the evil scientist, I got really lost on that one. Like, okay, that's cool. And another thing to me, the fights. A lot of the fights were interesting. Like, I like the fight on the, I think it was called Birth Island. I like that fight. She goes over Space Godzilla. But the problem with this movie is the fights. I know Heisei gets a lot of bad rap for being a beam war, but this movie really highlighted that. It's all just beams and very little, excuse me, physical fighting. It makes the fights get boring after a while. Unfortunately for me, the fights had a few good moments in there, like using Piscotto using his tail, telekinesis. Those are great moments, but other than that, it's just a bunch of beams flying everywhere, and it just gets boring after a while, honestly. But still, it's still better made than some ones I've already mentioned, so I guess we'll just move on. Coming in at number 23, I bet a lot of you didn't see this coming. Son of Godzilla. I waited all my life to watch this one, and when I finally watched it, you know what? I actually didn't find it that bad. The music is annoying at times, but unlike something like Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, this music has subtle moments or it just has none, which actually works a lot better for the film than it did in the Sea Monster one. Godzilla looks like utter shit, which is why I have to rate it so much lower than I would like to, sadly. It's the worst Godzilla suit design of them all. Not on a part of it like falling apart or something like that. It just looks ugly. And so does Manila Mania, whatever you want to call him. He also looks just sad. It just doesn't look like Godzilla. I've heard on the internet before the most accurate way to describe it is a reptilian Pillsbury Doughboy. And notice I even say reptilian because he happens to have a tail, but really you just get the Pillsbury Doughboy, paint him gray, stick some ridiculous looking teeth in front of his mouth, get rid of his hat, and there you go. That's Manila. And it's sad because the story is pretty interesting actually. With human characters are doing some interesting things in this one. And I actually like Kamacuris. Not that he's a really memorable monster, but he's not a really crappy one either. It's pretty interesting. A praying mantis type creature, and the fact there's multiple of them made it really fun. Made it a fun fight. Kumanga was great in it. Just a spider. It's a really great and menacing villain, and it was a nice team up. Remember, this is the only time we ever got to see a double heat ray. That was awesome. Godzilla and Manila using the heat rays together to beat Kumanga was just epic in my mind. That made it a really great fight. There are great fights in this movie. And the human characters are interesting in this one. They have an interesting mission. You know, they fight the little mini Kamacuras, or I mean, the big Kamacuras before they get bigger. And of course, there's that one guy played by, I think, Yos. I don't remember the actor's name. I know something with a Y. But he was the other King Hedorah as well. But he plays the guy who's like kind of going insane for being on the island for too long. And it just made it really interesting. It was a fun movie to watch, despite some of the hideous monster designs in Godzilla and Manila. So, surprise, surprise, I actually like this one a lot. I just wish they had picked a different design for Godzilla and Mania for this one, sadly. Moving on. And finally, my first Millennium film I'm going to put on the list. And I hate to say it, but this definitely is my least favorite Millennium film, Godzilla Final Wars. Now, I know it's 50th anniversary film and all that, and everybody already knows this movie has pretty much a you love it or hate it mentality towards it. And for me, I'm definitely in the middle ground. To me, it's one of those things where you watch it and it's like, that was okay, but the more you think about it, there's so much more they could have done, and everybody knows it. They could have done so much more with this movie. I mean, I think, well, let me say, I did review this already, but let me go through it real quickly. Godzilla looked great. Gigan looked amazing. Loved it. King Caesar, way too humanoid for especially in this one, he's so slimmed down, and I hated the goddamn eyes. Why don't you just keep the ruby eyes? But he was, Anger's. I actually liked the Anger's design. I actually liked it a lot. Rodan, I liked it. Legs felt it looked a little too long, but that's the look in this movie. Everything looks kind of like Power Rangers like. Everything's really slimmed and human formed. So Rodan, I liked it. Monster X, way too humanoid, but cool design. Keezer Ghidorah, I hated. I hated what they did to King Ghidorah with that. And people even make the claim now. Well, it's not a claim. It's already said by Toho. It's Monster X 2. It's not even King Ghidorah technically. Why did you just put King Ghidorah? The King Ghidorah and Rebirth of Mach 3 look 10 times better than the thing you see that's supposed to be King Ghidorah, and this one at least pay homage to it. The ugly skin, the shitty little wings. I did like his attack, so I enjoyed the fight. I just wish he would have done a lot more. Kamacuras looked great in here. Kumanga looked great. Manda looked great in that one scene. It was wrapped around the tank. Other than that, it was just CGI, and the way it moved was too fast. Had the stupid glow. I liked Manda, but I didn't like the way Manda looked for pretty much 90% of the shots. Brief though as though they were, Hedorah. Why even talk about it? Wasn't really in the movie. Ebra looked great, if not just looked like Legion from Gamera 2. Still don't like him as a whole, but it looked better than it did in the 60s. I'm missing anybody. Manila, fuck him. I was in the movie. You could have at least made him look like Godzilla Jr., but no. You just had to pay homage to that stupid character no one likes, anyways. Zilla? Zilla looked decent for what he was supposed to be, you know? He was there for one reason only, to get his ass kicked. What more do you expect from him? And did that cover everybody? Mothra. Mothra was just basically a reissue of 2003 version, so it looked for most part really good. And yes, I like both versions of Gigan, upgraded and normal. Both looked great. I think I covered all the monsters pretty fast right there, like going into too much detail, but yeah. So I liked the monsters the way they looked, majority of them anyways. But the thing I hate, and I like the story, for this one time in Millennium series, I was getting into the idea of aliens, but there's a lot of problems. The problems being that, one, music was off a lot of times, didn't like it. Human characters really pissed me off a lot of times. And I actually like the story, even though it has a lot of plot holes that I was into thinking about. There's a lot of plot holes in there, but never mind that. The thing I always get mad about this movie is for all its faults. I think the biggest one is that people always complain about because we don't have enough Godzilla action, but I actually like that sometimes because you build up character tension and you feel what the characters are going through. If you've seen them formulate plans on how to deal with the situation. And here, though, you just get bullshit action scenes I didn't want. This is how I view the movie. Every time there's a human fight scene going on, I think you could have took that time and budget and put it towards making one of the Godzilla fight scenes longer. Whoop-de fucking do. Did you think about that? Example, the whole Ozaki versus Kazama motorcycle fight scene. Cut that whole shit out or make it like a minute shorter. Add that to Godzilla vs. Gigan and Antarctica. There you go. Make one of my favorite fight scenes in the movie just a minute longer by cutting that bullshit out. All that bullshit at the end of Dragon Ball Z / Matrix type crap. Cut all of that shit out for a very quick action scene. So we have a longer fight scene with, I don't know, Hedorah, who's in the movie for about 5 seconds. It was just a lot of things like that. Those damn human fight scenes I wish could have been cut out. Exian Leader, I kind of liked him. Kind of annoying at times, that damn laugh. But he was a over the top villain, so it was enjoyable. And for what it's worth, though, I did enjoy the movie watching it. I enjoyed some of the action scenes with Godzilla. Well, I enjoyed all the Godzilla scenes basically, except for some of the soccer bullshit. I was like, what? Overall, the movie was like, it left me like, I'm for the most part satisfied for it being the 50th anniversary film, but it just one of the movies when you keep thinking about it, like, you could have done so much more, but you chose not to. And it shows. It fucking shows. I never want that guy to direct a Godzilla movie again. It's as many times I'll say it again. Ryo Kitamaro can never direct a Godzilla movie ever again. You wasted so much potential. You wasted all of it. But in any case, I still view it as not one of the worst. It's just, you could have done more. Moving on. And the last one for the first 10 I'm going to be covering, Godzilla vs. Hedorah. One of the weirdest ones out there. There's so much going on in this movie as far as visuals. They really throw you through a loop and you either end up hating it or loving it. Now, things I don't like about the movie. The music. I fucking hate it. Every time I hear the score of this movie, I despise it. It's just awful. Just hate it. How else can I say his music fucking sucks for this one? The music, awful. Anyways, if you just if Fukue would come back just for just a second, the movie could have been really great. And some of the visuals in this movie were really unnecessary, like the cartoons and shit. Yeah, those are really annoying and useless for giving this obvious freaking things for what's going on. But you cut those stupid little things like the music and the little unnecessary cartoons and shit. You have a really good Godzilla movie in your hands because it's a really interesting story, an over the top message that's really obvious, sure, but at least it's interesting. Fighting pollution, and Hedorah is one of my favorite Godzilla villains. Not so much as in looks, although he doesn't look that bad. It actually looks pretty good. I like the fact he transforms. But I like the fight scenes in this one are so great. And Hedorah is such a good villain because, just the amount of destruction he does. It's on a very personal level. The human characters actually get scarred from it. People actually die. And this one, you actually see it happening, which you haven't seen since. Well, you see it sparsely in the Godzilla movie, but this one has mass death. It just was great. It really raised the stakes in this one, and let people not forget that Hedorah really is one of Godzilla's greatest villains. Just from the amount of damage he did to Godzilla, and which, like I said, Final Wars didn't capitalize on any of that shit. Not the little sludge bullets that melted Godzilla's damn hand off onto little laser beams in his eyes. None of the transformations. Final Wars didn't capitalize on any of those moves, which really pissed me off. So yeah, it has some really great fight scenes, really dark atmosphere, and a very entertaining story. Like I said, the only things that really pissed me off about it is the freaking music, which sucked, and some little animation bullshit they had going on, which was really stupid and unnecessary. But otherwise, a film I really enjoy as a Godzilla fan. I actually like this one quite a bit, and more than Final Wars for that matter. So that will conclude my first segment of the best to worst Godzilla movies. That was about, yeah, I'm doing 10 for each one of them. So stay tuned for part two, and I will see you then.